Despite a defense that did its part, the Sooners didn't pass the Tennessee test. Their first foray into the SEC was foiled by a former favorite son. In the SEC, there's no time to sulk or feel sorry for yourself because this Saturday, it's time to take the Schooner into its first SEC Rowdy Roadhouse, and riding away with a win will take resilience. From inside Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium in Norman, this is Sooner Game Day presented by Taco Mayo. Big appetite, bigger savings. Download and save today. Bounce back ball game for both these teams. The Sooners visit Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama for the first time ever to tangle with the Tigers, who also lost their SEC opener last week at home to Arkansas. Kickoff 2:30. The game is on ABC. Joe Tessitore, Jordan Rogers, and Katie George will be on the call. And we welcome you inside the studios here at the Palace on the Prairie. I'm your host, Chad McKee. You know my cohorts, the Butkus and Bednarik award-winning linebacker, the national champion at Oklahoma, Teddy Lehman. Sandwiched in between the two of us is the Werfel Trophy winner, academic All-American of the Year, All-American center, Gabe Eichert. They are here to tell us it's all going to be okay. Everything is still there at hand for the Sooners.
Be all right.
Just got to get back on track this week. And guys, it was tough. We could big picture what we saw on Saturday here in Norman, but let's put the next game in front of us, this Auburn game. What do you guys expect? Because, Teddy, it's certainly become maybe more interesting, a few more moving parts than perhaps we thought 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I expect it to be really loud. I expect it to be really physical. It's going to be a tough football game, and whatever we thought about this one going in, you can kind of scrap that. Both of these teams right now are going to be desperate for a win. Auburn and their fan base has kind of built this one up. They're not happy about what the record is right now, but they've circled this one. And it's our first time going down there. We're going to be taking a true freshman at quarterback. It's going to be a tough football game. I expect it to be close.
It's still a little hard to believe that OU's about to go play a conference game at Auburn. I keep looking at the schedule going, wait, this is different. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I think it's a heck of an opportunity for this football team. I think it's a heck of an opportunity for this offense.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is criticizing the offense, and rightfully so. They did not play well against Tennessee, but you can change the narrative quickly. Mm-hmm. Auburn's a good football team. Do not get deceived by their record. They've got size. They've got speed. I think they're well coached.
A good scheme offensively.
They've got a really nice scheme offensively. They're multiple on defense. It's a tough challenge. But as far as expectations, I just want to see that eagle fly around that stadium, man. I'm so excited. It's going to be awesome.
It's just one of the beginning of the many traditions the Sooner fans are going to get to see as they go into these venues in the SEC. This is just the beginning of it. And you go in with a true freshman quarterback. His first start is going to be his first true road game. But that's for everybody. Everybody's going into their first true SEC road game. You hate to make too much of one game, right? You just can't do it. But it feels super important. Gabe, from your vantage point, how pivotal is this game?
It feels massive. And you hate to use the term must win this early in the season, but let's be real. It feels like a tipping point for the 2024 Oklahoma Sooners.
Fair to say. Mm-hmm.
And I think you got the bye next week, and then you're going to play the number one team in the country in Dallas. 4-1 feels a hell of a lot better than 3-2.
No doubt about that.
Heading into that football game, and especially if you can get consistent play, clean execution offensively. With the way that the defense looks, you'll be feeling much, much better. But I think anyone that says this isn't a massive football game for Oklahoma, you're kidding yourself. Auburn they've been okay, but you got to be able to go beat a 2-2 football team on the road if you want to have the type of season Oklahoma wants to have, Ted.
There's no doubt about it. And we know this team is massively banged up. Injuries everywhere, especially on offense. If you can go down there, you can get a win, and you can get to that bye week and try and get healthy before you start that stretch run, because it's not getting easier after the Auburn game. It's getting way more difficult. So you got to stockpile as many wins as you can.
Yeah, you can catch your breath next week, but you got to fight hard this week just to get to next week and that bye. Here's a look at the matchup between these two teams. Offensively, defensively, pretty similar. Sooners have been a little bit better. Big one is that bottom line. Oklahoma, so far this season in the country, they are tied for third in turnover margin. Auburn is tied for 131. There are 133 teams in Division I college football. It is crazy. Let's talk about the Oklahoma offense and Michael Hawkins. Number one thing for him was it was mistake-free in the turnover department once he got in there. 11 of 18. Had that effort play where he bounces up and over to the goal line, and it just seemed like there was an energy uptick when he got into the game. Why did the offense click better seemingly when he got in, Gabe?
I think he just made good decisions with the football. And that was, of course, in the passing game, but also in those RPO situations where if the box says hand the ball off, Michael Hawkins, he handed the ball off. And that has been an issue for this football team. But I think his athleticism was a difference maker. And it's not like the protection was perfect for this guy. I mean, there are a couple where you just go, how are we having these breakdowns? But I thought he was decisive and played on time. Thought he got the ball out of his hand quickly. And with some of the struggles that the offensive line is having, a guy that makes quick decisions like that, I think is the best option for this football team currently.
Yeah, and I agree. And it's going to be tough. His first start going to be on the road at Auburn. But when you've got a true freshman quarterback and some of the things we've heard this week, I think that the game plan is going to be tailor-fit for him and to be smart and hang on to the football and let your defense try and win the game.
Defensively, the Sooners looked the part once again. They forced 8 punts, hold Tennessee 40 points below their average. How high is the ceiling for this defense at this point, Tim?
Well, I think it's incredibly high. The one thing that I really like about this group is they've gotten better week by week. Our defensive line is playing great. We're not super deep. We've got like a 4-man rotation right now that they've stuck with, but all of those guys are playing really good. We're tackling well. The secondary, the corners have all played good. There's really not a weakness is the strength, I think, whenever you just take all the different pieces and look at them. We blitz the quarterback really well, cover one-on-one really well. I mean, I expect them to – I think they're already one of the best in the country, and I think they're going to continue to improve.
New guys showing up, it seems like, every week, but you kind of knew that was going to happen with this defense. It's time for the Scoop, presented by Brahms, your fresh market fresh take. Brahms, farm fresh for over 50 years. Hank Brown, Peyton Thorne, they have split time at quarterback for Auburn this year as we talk about them. 8 interceptions, 6 fumbles lost, 14 total turnovers by this offense. Gabe, give us a snapshot of what Hugh Freeze has offensively in this Auburn team. Talent?
I don't want to say it. It's a great system.
What's so painful about that?
Well, their quarterbacks have just made some massive mental mistakes with the football, and that's really what has cost them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they racked up, some people will point to explosive plays, their success rate, all that stuff. They did a lot of that against bad football teams.
Right.
I mean, 2 of their 4 games, they've played awful football teams. But it's one of my favorite RPO systems I've studied on tape. Got a nice variety in the run game. I think Jarquez Hunter is a really solid back that can do a little bit of everything. And their RPO stuff, a lot of the time, they're pushing it down the field. It's very little at the line of scrimmage, throw bubbles, throw quicks. It's these deep spear routes, these slants that are attacking you in the middle of the field. And then they'll just do some RPO stuff where if they like to match up on the outside, they're just throwing go balls and seeing if they can run by you. The blend of run and pass and play action that they build off it, it's a really good system. And if you've heard Hugh Freeze talk about it, he's a big believer in his system. He would just like his players to execute it a little better.
How about the defense? Certainly no slouch. They're an SEC defense. Talent-wise, certainly hold opponents to about 17 points per game. Teddy, give us the bird's-eye view of this defense.
They are big, they're physical, and they are old. 8 out of 11 starters are seniors on this group, and They're led, I think, by their two edge guys up front, McLeod and Falk. Falk looks like Mario Williams back in the day.
He's enormous.
Giant, 6'6", about 285, 290. McLeod on the other side is shifty, and he could do a bunch of different things. The thing for me is they're young and fairly untested at the corner spot. They rotate through 4 guys, all of them sophomore and freshmen. I think there's going to be some opportunity. If we can establish a little bit of run, I'm not saying we got to run it for 300 yards, but if we can get to some decent down and distances, I think we should be able to test those guys down the field.
Oklahoma and Auburn, 2:30 on Saturday, Jordan-Hare Stadium. Oklahoma's first venture into one of the rowdiest. It may not have the reputation of some of the others, but it is going to be loud and rowdy, boys.
Our buddy Cole Kublik, Auburn guy, he keeps emphasizing that the H does not exist. It's Jordan-Hare.
Jordan-Hare?
Jordan-Hare.
Okay.
It's like the H, just pretend like it's not even there.
We'll practice that, okay?
So don't go to Auburn and go Jordan-Hare. People will look at you like
it's
crazy.
Oklahoma's second ever game in the state of Alabama. We're going to make Ted feel a little better. First trip that was in Tuscaloosa, 2003. Top-ranked Sooners won that game. Ted, do you remember that?
Of course.
Of course you do. Okay. Of course. That was an Oklahoma win. Coming up, talking about the Sooner offense, Michael Hawkins will get his first road start, his first SEC start. Some things they can hang on to coming out of the Tennessee game. What are those that they can take forward? Next on Sooner Game Day. Welcome back in. Sooner Game Day, Oklahoma and Auburn coming up on Saturday. Brent Venables faced Auburn 3 times as defensive coordinator at Clemson. He won all 3 of those. A lot of things have changed since then, but maybe that bodes well as Michael Hawkins makes his first start as Oklahoma quarterback. It will be on the road. We heard rumblings in fall camp of how well this young guy was playing. Very highly recruited. He was a top 5 dual threat quarterback nationally. What does he bring to the table specifically that makes him right to play in a game like this, Teddy?
Well, athleticism is key for him. He's really quick. He and Jackson Arnold are both good running the football. He's got a little bit more shake in the open field, a little quicker to top speed. But he's a playmaker. I think that's the big thing with him that you're excited about. Is he can extend, he can get outside the pocket, and then whipping it down the field, finding some guys with some off arm angles, just improvising. I think he's a little bit better, which you hope kind of fits with what our problems have been offensively so far. As long as he can take care of the football, should give you a chance.
The way that he performed with how tough of a situation that was last week, I think it tells you a lot about the kid.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that's been training for this opportunity for a long, long time. And the thing that I like is he's pretty polished as a passer for a true freshman. And I think his 2 biggest strengths are his quick decision-making and his athleticism. And if he can just make good decisions with the football and use his legs as a weapon, whether that's as a scrambler or opening some things up in the running game that has struggled for the Sooners, we could see this offense look the best it's looked so far this season, or at least that's the hope.
He'll be out there from the beginning of the game as well. Go ahead, Ted.
Well, I'll just say this. If we know the problems we have offensively with injuries on the offensive line, all of the top wide receivers that feel like are out, true freshmen on the road in a place that people say is haunted for visitors that come in there. If he goes in there and gets the win, I don't think we really given that what credit that is to go get a win as a true freshman in Auburn. That's going to be incredible.
You mentioned the wide receiver room. I'm coming right back at you for this one. Nick Anderson, re-injured. We're told soft tissue injury for Deion Burks. Jaquez Pettaway, Jacoby Johnson, both had flashes in the game, in particular Jaquez Pettaway. How do you approach this wide receiver group right now, Ted? The tight ends and running backs that are available have caught far more passes than the wide receivers who are available right now. How do you approach this group and the passing game?
Well, I'll tell you how I would approach it if I was a defensive coordinator. I'd get right up in their face, press coverage. We're small right now at wide receiver. We've put it on film that we've struggled with that. So I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to have to go and beat guys one-on-one. They have to win their one-on-one battles. And yeah, we're banged up, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any change to that soon. So some guys are going to have to start making plays. Now, I think we can help out as offensive coordinator getting our guys on the move to start in the passing game instead of starting statically. Put some of these smaller guys in motion to where those DBs can't jam them at the line of scrimmage. But we switched Jacoby Johnson over to wide receiver. He's big, he's physical, he's a really good all-around athlete. We need some of that size. And it sounds like he's adapted really well and really quickly to that. And it wouldn't shock me if they isolated him and went to him several times.
Anything, Gabe?
Auburn's defense, out of anyone that we've played so far this season, they're the most physical on the back end. They grab and grab and grab and grab. And to their credit, they haven't been called a lot for it, so they're going to keep grabbing.
Yeah, that's the SEC for you. I've noticed that across the board.
And so Zion Reagans, Jaquez Petaway, Brennan Thompson, some of these guys that aren't the biggest in stature, you got to play super physical.
Yeah.
They grab you, smack them.
Speaking
And
of
just see what you can get away with. I'm being serious. Like,
Speaking of
push
physical,
off, do whatever you got to do.
offensive line run game, Branson Hickman comes back last week at the center spot. Still no Jake Taylor. We saw Taylor Tatum have to leave the game at running back in a very physical game. What can you do, if anything, with regard to the run game?
Well, you're hoping that you get even healthier on the offensive line. We'll see if Jake Taylor's able to go. I'm hopeful that Troy Everett will be able to get out there. He looked really good in warm-ups, even though he didn't play against Tennessee. But it's not overly complicated. Just execute the plan. Execute the plan. There's just been entirely too many mental mistakes. You have to target the proper guys. Now, I would love to see some more variety in the run game. I would love to see them attack the edges, get on the perimeter more with this rushing attack. You saw them have some success with some of those concepts against Tennessee. I would love to see more of it. But the easiest way to improve the run game is for the offensive line and the tight ends to know who they are blocking. It's that simple. And then go block them. It's not going to be perfect all the time. You're going to lose some battles. You're playing against good players. But you have to know. You have to know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, you ain't got a chance. It's the bottom line. I know it sounds simple, but that's what I believe will improve this run game the easiest, is just know where you're going and then go a million miles an hour there. And if you play hard and you know where you're going, that'll solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, Teddy, a good deal of talk about RPOs this week, run-pass options. Jackson Arnold's missed read, as Brent Venables described it, on the play where the backward pass was also thrown. That was kind of a double negative, and obviously it was a disaster. But take us through RPOs, their utilization, what's important, and what has to happen on plays such as that.
Well, it's just a numbers game. That's really all it is you're counting the box. If they've got less guys than you have gaps, you want to run the football. If they've got more guys than you have gaps, you want to throw the football. And defenses don't make it easy. They're not going to stand there and let you count. They're going to move around. They're going to disguise. So, it's basically just an audible on the fly as the ball's snapped. And, it's teams that are good at it. Tennessee's really good at it, and you can see it when they're hitting those slant routes to guys, and it looks like the whole defense is at the line of scrimmage. They're counting the box, and they're letting a guy go win a one-on-one and throwing it to space. So it's a big advantage whenever you can do it, and you can do it properly. But when you don't do it properly, it puts you in a bind and it puts you in a hole. And, Coach Venables talked about it today or Monday at Rudy's that he wants to limit what they're putting on the quarterbacks. He wants to limit what they're putting on the team, take some of the read stuff out of it to where hopefully we can play fast, play physical, be confident in where we're going and what we're doing. Now, it sounds like they're taking them out. I'd be shocked if we didn't have some in. Especially telegraphing that to the world, that's gonna get people to pile the box on you and do all kinds of stuff. So I imagine they'll be still in the game plan, but limited.
So, Gabe, is that where it starts when you talk about offensive game plan? Maybe simplification of things when you go on the road like this?
I think it depends on what Auburn throws at you defensively. They kind of have two identities. They've got the 3 safety look where they're giving you a light box and daring you to run the football, and they're trying to keep everything in front of them. And then they've got their 4 down, aggressive, we're playing man coverage on the back end style. I think Auburn's going to go with the aggressive style.
100%.
And I think it's what they do best, watching it on tape. So against that, you got to win at the point of attack.
Yep.
It's that simple. You got to win at the point of attack. You got to win more battles than you lose along the offensive line, and then wide receivers have to win. We can talk about man beaters, cover 1 beaters, all these things. It comes down to playing physical and winning. Clean releases, crisp routes, and you got to run away from guys. I mean, that's it.
Sooners have 7 SEC games left, including this one. 5 of those 7 teams are ranked in the top 14. Auburn is one of 2 that is not ranked in the top 25. As you said, need to take advantage of a game like this on the road. Defense playing at a high level, 8 tackles for loss per game, 3.5 sacks per game. Those are up near the top of the SEC. Can it continue on the road in Auburn, Alabama? The fellas weigh in next on Sooner Game Day, presented by Taco Mayo. Welcome back. Sooner Game Day, Oklahoma at Auburn, 2:30 coming up on Saturday. First road game in the Sooners' SEC tenure. And this Oklahoma defense, 12 takeaways, leads the country. 8 fumble recoveries is already 2 more than they had all of last season. Sound pretty good to you guys?
Yeah.
They've been awesome.
And they have stayed pretty injury-free on that side of the ball, the exception being Kendall Dolby, which was tough to watch, Teddy. A guy that has been through a lot just to get out there, to see him, given everything he had on that play. How much are they going to miss him?
Well, right out of the gate, they're going to miss him quite a bit. Now, Onwuesigho's played well there. You know, Peyton Bowen, there's some guys that can give you some stuff there and mitigate the damage early on. But eventually, you know, Onwuesigho's going to be a really good player. Venables has said multiple times he's going to be an NFL guy. So I fully expect him to get up to speed quickly. He's already played quite a bit this year, but eventually, I'm not going to say you don't miss Kendall Dolby, but you should get some top-notch play there.
Turnovers, Gabe, we continue to talk about it. Leading the SEC, 3.5 sacks per game, second in the conference, 8 tackles for loss per game, and 14 turnovers. It's game-changing. They gave the offense chances the other day. How are the turnovers continuing to happen?
I think it all starts with the guys knowing what they're doing.
Yeah.
When you know what you're doing on the football field, you can play fast. And you're way more physical when you're playing fast. And I think that's what we saw against Tennessee. I think that's what we've seen in the other 3 football games is guys have a clear understanding of what they're doing within the scheme. So they're playing fast and they're arriving at the football with bad intentions. But I think one of the keys is they're just winning at the point of attack. And the pass rush and the blitz concepts, they've gotten home and effective quarterbacks. They've stripped the quarterbacks. They've forced the quarterbacks into feeling uncomfortable and making poor throws. Like, it's all been good.
Yeah, and it's been multiple guys. You know, Trace Ford really stood out. Not that he hasn't in the past. Dominic Williams, I feel like, is just getting better and better. You see Ethan Downs making some plays as well, Teddy. How much is it that defensive line just setting the table with multiple different players? You can't focus on just getting one guy blocked.
No doubt about it. It all starts right there. Every good defense is led by their defensive line. And the edge guys have been great. It was awesome to see our Mason Thomas get going. You mentioned Trace Ford. He came in whenever we had to have him and did some really nice things against the run game and against the pass. Grayson Holton's had his best season. Jaden Jackson is a true freshman, looks like a 4-year vet out there. Dejon Terry's having by far his best year as a Sooner. It's all just working really well. And because of that, the linebackers are playing better than they have. The secondary is playing more confident. There's not time to sit back there in the pocket and let guys run all over the field on the back end. So the secondary's playing really good. It all starts from the defensive line. Those guys have dominated.
It's a line of scrimmage both ways. I mean, that's
yeah,
what we talk about.
Right? Let's go.
It's right in there in the trenches for Gabe. So what's important, Auburn, they can produce on offense if they don't shoot themselves in the foot. So defensively, I don't know if you game plan any differently than you have already. It's been pretty good, Gabe.
No, and defense is playing at a high level. You got to imagine that they're coming into this game with a lot of confidence. The thing is, hey, this is the first time we'll see this defense go on the road. Shouldn't be any different.
Right.
If anything, communication should be better.
Yeah.
Because you can hear each other. You don't have your home crowd yelling and where you're
and you can hear the offense, which is important.
You can hear the offense. It should be. It's a formula for the defense to go and play well, but Auburn's got a really good system. The most important thing is to stop the run. The goal, and it feels like I say this every single week, and we saw them do it against Tennessee, mitigate that run game and then force the quarterback to beat you from the pocket. And right now, Peyton Thorne and Hank Brown, neither of those guys have shown the ability to consistently deliver if they have to throw the ball a lot in a football game. So that should be the goal. Limit Jarquez Hunter, limit their running game, which they've got a lot of variety in the run game. It's not easy. The offensive line for Auburn is okay, but that's the goal. Make those quarterbacks for Auburn play from the pocket in second and long and third and long, and you should be just fine.
So let me hear this. Run the football, stop the run, don't turn the football over.
We say the same thing.
Yeah, just play this segment
Bud
over
Wilkinson
every week.
said that
We say
here in
the
this
same thing
stadium
every week.
Every week, every season, every year. It's been the same formula for wins.
There is going to, I think, some people look at Auburn's record and think that they don't have good players, and that is not the case. The level of physicality that OU's going to need to bring to this football game to walk out of there with a win, it's high. They have to play well.
Yeah.
I know that sounds so stupid, but they have to go and play well.
And we're going to tell you about some of those players coming up next. The tale of the Tigers and second-year head coach Hugh Freeze. They were not expecting to be 2-2 coming into this game with a home loss in their SEC opener. I think they're a tad bit angry. We'll tell you more about the Tigers when we return on Sooner Game Day presented by Taco Mayo. Sooner Game Day getting you set for the third ever meeting between Oklahoma and Alabama. They have never played on the other side.
We're playing Alabama?
I mean Auburn. It's in Alabama.
Auburn,
Alabama.
I knew what you meant.
My
It's
mistake.
fine.
My mistake. No,
Oh
no.
my gosh! Could you imagine if Hawkins was starting on the road against Alabama for his first game?
It would be a lot like this.
Home and home against Alabama, year one of the SEC. That'd be cool.
No, it's not happening. 2016, it was Bob Stoops' final game as head coach. We didn't know it at the time, but it was the Sugar Bowl 2017. Samaje Perine went past Billy Sims on the all-time rushing mark. Baker Mayfield had a good day. But it's crazy to think that was Bob Stoops' final game as head coach, Gabe.
It is. I mean, it feels so much has happened with Oklahoma football since that game. But I remember watching that game, and Sooners were physical. That was a fun football game to watch, and it makes me wish we had a couple of those guys.
I'd take Perine right now.
I'd take Perine right now for this offense. With how banged up they are, we can use a couple of guys from that offense.
Turnovers likely going to be a big story. They have been for both these teams. Oklahoma, great at it. They are tied for third nationally at turnover margin +7. Auburn is -10. That's 131. So the quarterbacks, and Gabe, we mentioned them, Peyton Thorne, Hank Brown, each has started 2 games. Middling success, I guess you would say. Thorne's probably been more explosive with the 9 touchdown passes, but that's made him a little more prone to turnovers. So, I mean, you guys compare these two.
I think that Thorne's clearly the more experienced guy, the more athletic guy. He brings a different element with his legs that Brown doesn't bring. I think Brown's probably a more natural passer from the pocket. I think he pushes it down the field a little better. I don't know about you, Ted, but this feels like a massive game for Hugh Freeze and for this Auburn team. I think they're going to go with the veteran guy. I think we're going to see Thorne.
I agree. That's who I would go with. I don't think Brown's ready yet. And Peyton Thorne, he offers some stuff. He's decently athletic. Now, he's not like Nico. He's not like Mensah from Tulane, but he can do some things athletically. But just to go back with what we were saying, these quarterbacks, if you stop the run and we put them in third and long, our defense should be able to tee off on these guys. They'll throw you the football. If you put pressure on them, change the look on the back end, they're going to make mistakes. But it all comes back to stopping that run.
Terrible.
Take
throw.
that one right there. That's
And the
Hank
flat
Brown.
defender is right there. What is he looking for?
You know, you get the sense that's Hugh Freeze's frustration. He doesn't want to throw either of these guys under the bus, but that's been the source of the frustrations. Jarquez Hunter, really talented guy whom you talked about earlier, gave 2,500 career yards, second team All SEC. He's a guy that's going to play in the NFL. He's got size and he's got speed. What is this guy's style and what concerns you with him?
He's good.
Yeah?
I mean, he's good. He does everything well. I think that I like his physical build. He runs with an edge, but he also has some shake to him.
Yeah.
When he gets into the open field, he does a nice job of when he's clean up to the second or even third level. Like he does a nice job of making that first guy miss. But my favorite thing about him is he's decisive. Like he sees it and he punches the gas, whether it's going to be for 3 yards or if it's going to be for 23 yards. He runs the same way each and every time. And as an offensive lineman, that's all you want from a running back is you kind of know what you're going to get from him and catch the ball well out of the backfield, does a nice job in protection. He's solid. I mean, rock solid.
Athletes at wide receiver, Keandre Lambert-Smith kind of leads the way. He's averaging 28 yards per reception. That is second nationally. But, Ted, it's not just him. They've got 9 different guys who have caught at least one touchdown. Gabe, I'll start with you on these guys, but how dangerous is this unit?
Well, they look fantastic physically. Watching them on tape, you're watching, you go, well, he's long and lean, and he's long and lean, and he's long and lean, and Lambert-Smith is 6'1", Coleman's 6'3", Brown is 6'3". I mean, these are big athletic
I see how you
dudes
averaged
for
28
Auburn.
yards per pull that time with that long run, Teddy.
Yeah, and the scheme is great. They build a lot of their play action stuff off of some run game and off of some jet sweep stuff. You'll see it really off of all the different pieces that they offer in the run game. And they try and get those guys open. They'll test you deep. But mentioning the size, they're also guys that they don't mind throwing just the quick stop routes. The 5-yard get open, throw it to them, and force some of these smaller defensive backs to make tackles in space.
They have had a few issues with some competitive situations dropping the football, and a couple of them have resulted in interceptions. My hope is they haven't solved that problem.
Right.
Let's not help them solve that problem either. Jalen McLeod and Keldrick Falk, you were talking about some of the guys on that defensive front. Gabe's got his eyes wide open at the thought of having to block them at this stage of his career. But what is that where it starts up front with that defensive line for Auburn?
They're big, they're physical, and as I said earlier, this is an old team. You know, they're going to be grown men in the front 7 for them. Almost all those guys are seniors, and you don't want to try and go over the top like you just saw right there. But off the edge, they're physical. They'll get after you in the pass game. Like I said, those guys are going to be chomping at the bit. This is going to be an aggressive style defense. They're multiple with what they do up front, but against us, we got a true freshman at quarterback. We've played musical chairs on the offensive line. We've been banged up there. They are going to make us prove that we can block them in the blitz game. So I expect them to bring guys off the edge, bring their backers up the middle, show some different fronts, make us have to ID, make the freshmen have to think a little bit out there. But yeah, it all starts with that big physical group up front.
Red zone defense, this team is 7th nationally. That's one of those stats you look at, okay, well, unfortunately for them, the offense has coughed up the football a few times to test their defense inside the red zone. But you got to get there to test their red zone defense first, Gabe.
There's no doubt about it. And I think that OU's offense can have success in this football game. It all comes down to clean execution. And Teddy mentioned it. Auburn is by far the most multiple team that we've played defensively. They're going to show you all kinds of different looks. It's going to be very loud. The most important thing for OU to go and have success offensively in this game is pre-snap communication. You need to see pointing. You need to see a bunch of talking. You have to identify the front. You have to communicate how you are doing things, whether you're running the football, you're throwing the football. Everyone has to be on the same page. I've said this for a long time. There are no secrets on the road. If the defense knows what you're doing, so be it. You need to know where you're going. O-line, backs, tight ends. The communication is the key to playing well offensively at Auburn.
Time for My Pleasure presented by Chick-fil-A. Download the Chick-fil-A app and order your favorites ahead of time. Teddy, what would give you the most pleasure on Saturday night?
Don't turn the football over.
Okay.
Plain and simple. Do not turn the football
Yeah.
over. I think our defense has a chance to play really good against Auburn. I think we're going to turn them over multiple times. Offense, do your part. You know, we're going to need them to produce some, but we don't need them to go score 50 points. We need you to take care of the football, be smart, win the field position battle. If we do that, we got a good chance
Treat
to
the
win.
football like it's one of those chicken mini breakfast
That's
things
right.
that you get at Chick-fil-A.
You want me to eat the football?
Sure.
If you got to do it to hang on to
Sounds
it, then
insane.
do that.
Sure.
Would that give you pleasure as well?
Mine is targeting the correct guys in the run game at offensive line and tight end. If you target the correct guys, if you're all on the same page, you give yourself a chance. This football team has not done that consistently enough. I want it to happen on the road in an incredibly loud environment.
That's not that much to ask for.
Yeah,
It's
with
not
the true
too much to
freshman at the
ask.
helm.
Not that much to
True
ask
freshman
for.
quarterback? It's fine.
Oklahoma, Auburn, not the only big game in the SEC. Alabama and Georgia on Saturday as well. We'll preview that next on Sooner Game Day presented by Taco Mayo.
Sooner Game Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. OU Health. Proud to be Oklahoma's flagship academic health system. The best place to gear up for game day is shop.soonersports.com. Log on to Soonersports.com/kids for information about joining the Sooner Junior Kids Club presented by OG&E and brought to you in part by Orthodontics exclusively, Mathis Home, and Devon Energy.
Well, this past weekend around the college football landscape presented by Taco Mayo, big appetite, bigger savings. Download and save today. Kansas State drilled by BYU.
Ooh,
Beat
down.
Interceptions, 3 by Avery Johnson. Colorado beats Baylor. Drama. That's what we call snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, wasn't
Baylor.
it? James Madison making Mac Brown ponder retirement again, and Missouri
70?
70.
Well, it's a
JMU.
50 burger. What do you call 70?
Buffet.
Oh, my God.
We got to get Coach Switzer to weigh in on that one. It's not
man.
hanging half 100. It's more than that, plus 20. Game day pick'em scoreboard. Well, it was kind of a rough week for most of us. Gabe and I kind of went similar picks. That's me. I tried to piggyback off his success. I'll admit to
it's
that.
fine.
Teddy is always a little bit different, and I think Ted may have narrowed the gap as we take a look at how things went last week. I'm sitting there watching the results of these games going, I hope I didn't pick that game, and it was disastrous. Disastrous.
all
2 for
right.
5, but Ted was 2 for 5 as well.
Look at all of us. We all stink. Good.
Yeah, we do. And that's not even against the spread.
Nebraska. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
Nebraska did us in.
That game was over with. They just
Tight
couldn't
end's wide
stop
open
them.
in the end zone, Raiola. Throwing the rock.
Game Day Pick'em is presented by Riverwind Casino. Good times, great rewards. Number 2, Georgia. Number 4, Alabama. It's Kalen DeBoer's really first big game at Alabama. Now, obviously, getting Washington to the college football playoff, he knows how to play in big games. This is a little bit different, and Jalen Milroe has looked probably like the better of the 2 quarterbacks in this game so far this year. Who are you picking, Teddy?
Alabama's kind of owned Georgia. I'm going to still roll with Alabama being at home. Georgia seems a little shaky this year, but this game definitely has their attention. But I'm going to roll with Alabama.
Give me the Alabama Crimson Tide. 2 main reasons. Number 1, they get to play the underdog card at home. Feels like that should be against the law. And then Jalen Milroe is the most dynamic player, most dynamic playmaker in the football game. Give me the Tide.
I would like to be different, but I agree with you guys. At home, Georgia, I can't get the Kentucky game out of my head with Georgia. They struggled so much in that game to me. Louisville, Notre Dame. Riley Leonard just threw his first touchdown pass as Notre Dame quarterback last week. How many games in are we? 4, 5?
Yeah.
5, 4, something like that. It's been a struggle. They've won 2 since that loss to NIU at home. Can I get you to jump on the Irish?
No.
No?
Give me
Okay.
Louisville.
Same. I'm taking Louisville as well.
Okay. I'm going Louisville as well. So we're 3 for 3 on both of these things.
I thought I was going to be alone on Louisville Island.
Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Oklahoma State trying to bounce back after that home loss to Utah. Kansas State turnover problems last week. Turnover problems plagued Alan Bowman of Oklahoma State last week as well. Who are you taking in this one?
Well, K-State turned it over on the road. I expect them to be better at home. Oklahoma State turned it over at home. I expect them to be worse on the road. Give me K-State.
I'll take K-State. Different team in Manhattan.
Agreed.
And Oklahoma State has not been able to get Ollie Gordon going.
They can't run it. They just can't run the ball. You got to go with K-State for that reason. Arkansas and Texas A&M. Arkansas snuck out with that win over Auburn, leaving the Tigers very angry going into this week. Bit of a question at quarterback for Texas A&M. We'll see. Neutral
I think
site
it's going to
game.
be the freshman.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me. Probably the smart play. Neutral site at Jerry World. I'm going to take A&M in this game. Ted, who you got?
Same. I got Texas A&M. I don't feel great about it. I like their defense, and I think Arkansas is going to turn the football over a little bit. Give me A&M.
I think A&M's defensive line controls the game. Give me the Aggies.
BYU Baylor very quickly. Who you taking, Gabe?
I'm going to take Baylor because college football's weird.
It is.
The Baylor bounce back after that just tragic defeat.
And BYU, I'm going to go BYU. I mean, maybe they're riding on a high. I don't know. Someone's got to win it, I
Baylor,
guess.
the way Baylor lost, there's no way they can rebound.
Exactly.
I got to take BYU.
So they will.
So they probably will. Exactly. We're taking a look at Sooners in the NFL and our hot takes to close up Sooner Game Day next.
Sooner Game Day is brought to you by Riverwind Casino. Good times, great rewards. Coca-Cola. Is Coke Zero the best Coke ever? Take a test. OG&E. We energize life. The Sooner Sports Podcast is your all-access audio pass to Sooner Sports. Listen as Toby Rowland and Chris Plank talk all things Sooners. New episodes drop every day. Log on to Soonersports.com/podcast or search Sooner Sports Podcast in your favorite podcast provider. Presented by Allstate and Riverwind Casino. Thank you to our cornerstone television partners, OU Health, OG&E, Fowler Auto Group, and Coca-Cola.
Hey, it's a defensive show. Look at this. It's all defensive guys on Sooners. Teddy, you take this. This is all you, bud.
I see
Come on.
Benito getting after it still.
Yes.
K9 doing his thing, 2 sacks. And how about Redmond?
Nice.
I'm happy for him.
Pretty good
man.
debut for Jalen Redmond there, Gabe.
That's great.
Awesome. I recorded his first NFL sack. Still rocking 61 like a complete psycho on the defensive line. I love that.
Obo Okoronkwo as well, having a good, solid career. He's with the Browns now as Obo, and these guys switching teams. It's hard to keep up with them at times, but they're getting it done in the NFL and on defense as Sooners in the NFL. Time for Hot Takes, presented by Air Comfort Solutions, your total home solution for plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and electrical. Make the winning call today. What's that winning call going to be at the end of the game, say about 7 o'clock Saturday night, Teddy?
I think we win. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think it's going to be tight. Defense is going to keep us in it. May even have to score a touchdown on defense, which I wouldn't say that this team can't pull off.
How about you, Gabe?
I think
Eyes closed, heavy concentration. Don't overthink it.
over 5 yards of carry.
Ooh.
It's scalding hot with the way that this team has run the football and with what Auburn has along the defensive line. But I am choosing to be a believer in how Michael Hawkins' athleticism can change the run game.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that this offensive line and these tight ends are going to target the right guys. Everyone's going to be locked in. When you go on the road, it's hard to describe. You end up with this different focus, 5 yards of carry for the run game. Final answer.
Pack mentality on the road.
I'll take it.
I think all
We were
Sooner fans would take it.
1.1 per carry against Tennessee.
2:30 is kickoff on Saturday. You didn't have to bring that up to close the show. Just
That's
focus.
why it's hot. It's scalding
5
hot.
yards per carry. That's what Gabe said. 5 yards per carry
Come on.
Saturday. Bye week next week before Red River. For Teddy Lehman, Gabe Eichert, I'm Chad McKee. We'll see you next week on Sooner Game Day, presented by Taco Mayo.